In my map, you see here we have the Canyon of the Gods. Now, I have that drawn out somewhere. I can't find it, but here there's waterfalls. Here there's a city. You have to get up there, and there's a lot of like flying dragons around and stuff. And if you get really powerful, you could maybe tame a dragon, and that's the best way to fly around in the canyons. Here, Cobbletown. And here's another drawing I did. You see all the time I spend? Like this is like when I was in college, you know. I love these old maps, like Italian maps and stuff. So I was copying this kind of design. Here's a castle, for instance. No one would actually see this map. I would just explain to people, okay, you go down a long corridor and then you get into a round room and you see barrels and sacks of flowers in the middle. There's a spiral staircase going down. I do all these illustrations to get me excited. This is all for me, to get me excited. So I'm looking at the map, all excited about the map, and that comes out hopefully in the game. Because instead of writing text to myself, I do little illustrations so that I can tell people, oh yeah, in this room there's a fountain with, you know, this, and I'm looking at the map, I'm looking physically at the drawings. So I'm describing the drawing to them, but they are just imagining it in their head. So that's how I would play. You know, some people would make notes, but I'm not much of a text person.
I'd basically just have a book of, turn it into a little book of contents and descriptions for all the different kind of maps that I would make here. And so for each section, I would just go into describing what's in each encounter or each room. Let's see. Yeah. The cleric's name was Telemina. The temple was established in 2403 of the Fourth Age. Telemina left mummies, zombies, and skeletons to guard the temple. He animated and turned them into the undead. The only way into the chamber is through the tunnel D, which leads to P. So there's the tunnel D, which probably goes, where is P?
For me, that's half the fun, is creating the map. That's like playing. Even when no one's around, you're drawing it, you're creating it, you're imagining it, you're fantasizing, you're being the architect of your world. You know, you're creating all this stuff, and you're creating the ultimate world, your dream world, in your fantasy kind of world. You're creating it, and then people come in to your world and they bring it to life, and events happen that you never would have imagined were happening. So that's what's really great about it. Is imagine if you're an author, you create a book, and you invite some people over, and the characters in the book come to life and go on to courses of adventure that you never would have imagined. You know, it's the most amazing thing, because you don't know what's going to happen in the game. It depends on what happens that night. You know, I mean, you could have a city that burns down. You could create, you know, years building a city and then it burns down in the game. You know, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. Or someone builds a new city. Someone wants to build a castle. You know, one city goes to war with another. I mean, all kinds of things can happen during the course of the game. Your world comes to life. So, you know, it could be very consuming, you know.
I just came back from a convention on Memorial Day weekend in Ohio, and I'm going down to Virginia in a couple of weeks to play at a convention there. Part of it is that I'm involved in the Live and Greyhawk campaign, and there are a lot of conventions that offer adventures only available there. Like, you know, I go to Ohio, I play adventures that are only available in Ohio. I can't play them in New York.
He's asking us where we come from. We come from
the Greyhawk. Dangerous! Dangerous here! Speak! Move! Think!
Basically, all the players in Live and Greyhawk play characters in the same setting. And it's divided into regions. Every part of the country represents a different area of the setting. So for example, if you play in New York, you're playing in Keoland, which is a fairly prosperous, large, well-organized kingdom. If you go down to DC, you're playing in the Duchy of Jeff, which is playing a country that's been overrun by giants, and they're fighting to reclaim their land from the enemy. And you can take the same character and play in either one.
It looks up at him as going, oh, thank you so much! Thank you so much for getting me! You are my savior!
Plus you get to play with people from all over the world. So you definitely get the feel of there's this huge, vast world of things going on. Whereas in a home campaign, it's pretty much just confined to you, what's going on around you, and the rest of the world tends not to be very well developed.
Of any type, there's an annual event you should know about. The event is Gen Con, America's premier convention and trade show. Celebrity guests, prizes, and trophies. It all adds up to 4 days of gaming you won't want to miss.
I was working as an illustrator at Fort Knox, Kentucky. After I got out of the Army, I got a job there as a civilian, and I was doing helicopters and tanks and soldiers and everything. And this guy, we hired a new guy, and he was playing this new game called Dungeons and Dragons, right? So he talked us into playing. I said, wow, that's a neat game, man. I've never seen a game like that, a role-playing game. And so he sent some of my samples into them to get work, maybe, because I thought I would. I said, you know, the art was pretty primitive looking, and I thought maybe they want that look. And I found out later that they didn't know what they were doing. They was just getting an artist down the street or somebody's uncle to do covers. You know, they didn't know, because they were young and it was selling so fast. They didn't know what to do. And it was a great time. We all got along. We all communicated. When the writers write a book, they would talk to us. You know, walk across the hall and discuss what the cover would look like for Dragonlance, all that stuff. We worked hand in hand with the writers.
Dragonlance was the first novel that had ever been written to a game. I was working at TSR at the time with Margaret Weiss. She was a story editor and I was a game designer. I expected to be a game designer forever, actually. But we had started this project called Dragonlance, and it came out with a series of novels. We're supposed to have a series of novels. And one day Margaret came to me and said, we're the ones who understand this story. It's our story. These are our characters. We need to be the ones to write it.
But really, developing novels off game sessions usually doesn't work, because if you're doing a plot line for a game, it tends to go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Whereas the plot line for a novel goes up, steadily rising action to the climax, then falling action. You don't get that in a game. So if you're going to do a novel based on a game, you can use the characters, you can use your world, but don't depend on, come up with your own plot.
The books themselves were seen as an add-on to the role-playing product. And so the initial issue was how great of a role-playing game could we make, and oh yeah, we're going to do some novels. The interesting thing is that I think the company has made far more money with the novels now than they ever made off of the game.
I imagine missile in that subject.
Go ahead, magic missile this way too.
Can I simply shoot it, or will that do no good anyway?
13.
13 points of magic missile damage.
Playing the game in college, I noticed that everyone kind of wanted to have their own unique, dice, their own unique style. And because of that individualism, I think it spills over into the accessories that they use. They like to have something that no one else has. They like that unique aspect. And so we've sort of touched upon that, coming up with real, exotic designs and shapes and colors. We make a whole dice range out of semi-precious stones. To have a set of stone dice that were mined from the earth and cut into dice is a pretty unique set. People will purchase dice for different situations in a game. If they're trying to roll to save themselves from a cataclysmic event, they have certain dice. If they're rolling to cause damage, they have certain dice. If a dice rolls too unlucky, people throw them away. It's a continually renewable product we have, because people will actually devise all sorts of ways to destroy unlucky dice. Melting them in microwaves, reducing them to bubble, a bubbling heap of slag. I've heard of people grinding them. I've heard of people throwing them, sinking them in water, burying them. I've heard of people burying them. Some people get pretty creative.